Good afternoon, all of you. I'm Dr. Lakshmi Vedprakash. I'm consultant pediatrician neonatologist working in Rainbow Children's Hospital. Today, I'm going to present the current situation and the impact of this current COVID-19 pandemic on child health and on the families and how it's impacting our day-to-day life. So we have this unprecedented lockdowns going on all over the world, and all the children, different age groups, from the newborns to infants to adolescents, all children are going through a kind of a different experience. In fact, not only the children, we all are experiencing what in a one's lifetime experience. So if we ask anyone like of any age, what they are saying that we have not seen this kind of situation in our lifetimes. So that is what we are facing these days. So I'm going to talk mainly about how our children are getting affected in this COVID season all over the world. All over the world, the 99% of world children are now living with some kind of restrictions on their movement during the season. About 1.5 billion children are out of the schools. And this COVID-19 is mainly affecting the children's health through three main channels. One is direct impact of this virus on children's health. Are children getting infected? How are they getting infected? How severe is this? All these things I'm going to talk about in the next few slides. And the next channel through which they are getting affected is mainly through the immediate effects of these socioeconomic changes that happened. That is lockdowns, restriction on movements, border closures. All these things are affecting through the different channel. And the third channel through which the children health can be affected in the long term is the government has to take care of children health through certain goals. Say the UNICEF gives the government certain goals, WHO gives some goals about overall what to do about the children health in general. There are a lot of child health programs, maternity health programs, all over the world they happen. All these things are getting affected during this season because all over the world, anywhere, countries and their health resources, everything is now going towards the control of the COVID pandemic. The other things are kind of set aside. So the impact of that we are not seeing now, but later on maybe we will be seeing the effect of that. Like whatever we have achieved through these sustainable development goals are there. So they also are getting affected during this pandemic. So the first channel through which the children are getting affected, that is like direct impact of the viral infection on children. So we have now this question of, can children get infected with this virus? Initially, when the pandemic has started, which was originally started from China, the initial reports were in Indian scenario also initially, mostly the young adults who are traveling, those who are going out most of the times. So those are the people who started getting affected. Then the older generation. Initially, children, the cases from the childhood population were not that many, but we are now 100% sure that children are also getting affected. We have reports from all over the countries in India and from our Telangana state. We have reports from reports that children, like quite a few children also had COVID positive reports. but general, like the effect that this virus is showing on children is definitely different. Children are showing only the milder symptoms. Most of them are showing the upper respiratory symptoms, mild cough, cold, fever, and some children are completely asymptomatic also. Why is it so? The research says that these are all the hypotheses. The children are like lacking a receptor called ACE receptor, which is crucial for the virus to enter the lower respiratory tract. All adults and older generation have this receptor, whereas in children this receptor is not well developed, so the virus is stopping at the level of the upper respiratory only. So probably you all might by now have got some idea about what this virus is and how this is affecting. This virus is a lifeless particle, which is like unless until it enters a cell, it cannot affect the system. So for this lifeless particle to enter our body and start causing the damage or reactions or the disease, there are, as I told you, this ACE receptor from the lower respiratory tract. It is not developed in children, so the virus is stopping at the level of the upper respiratory only. So, and the children are recovering. So, other thing which is possible is the children in general are exposed to many viruses, respiratory viruses, which gives some protection. They already have a baseline antibodies. Time to time, they are getting exposed and they will have antibodies. So they frequently get cold and coughs. Those who are going to child nurseries, every 2 weeks, 3 weeks, they'll get cough and cold. Frequently, they will have something or the other type of the group of respiratory viruses. So influenza virus, RSV virus, common cold rhinovirus, these kind of viruses. So the antibodies can be cross-protective. So already they have some antibodies. They are cross-protective. They are protecting them from. The other thing is in adults we get a cytokine storm. This is the main for the adults some of them getting more sick, some of them are asymptomatic, some of them recovering without much severe manifestations, some going into multi-organ failure, ARDS, and they are going to the dying. So these people who are getting more and more sick are mainly due to this cytokine storm kind of mechanism. So their immune system to fight off the virus is so strong and fighting over, and because of that fight between the virus and the immune system, lot of toxins, like these toxins I'm putting at these cytokines are the toxins which are affecting their own system in a bad way, like lungs are going to acute respiratory distress syndrome, and they're going to multi-organ failure causing the kidney failure, these things. This particular group who will show that cytokine storm is difficult to predict. But definitely people with underlying comorbidities like immunosuppression, people who are on dialysis, diabetes, and cancer patients, they will be at more risk in the adult population. Whereas in the children, though they have immunodeficiency, these children are not behaving like adults. Like I mean to say, the children with immune problems also are not getting as sick as the adult population. That is one good blessing in disguise for us, for our young generation. But still, we cannot actually ignore the fact that these children are main source of transmission of the virus from person to person. So can they transmit virus? Yes, absolutely. They are the ones they can transmit in the society and across the different adult groups. So after the school lockdowns happened in England and other places, England is the country who took that decision about closing the play schools and nurseries lockdown a bit late. Initially, they were hoping for the herd immunity. They continued the schools and play nurseries as usual. But after closing them down, they have seen significant reduction in the number of positive cases. So children play a major role in transmission of the virus. So other thing, can newborn babies get affected with this virus? Yes, newborn babies also can get affected, mainly after the baby delivery. So through the adult population who are handling the baby, through them they can get affected, but direct transmission from the mother to the fetus, that is the baby inside the mother's womb, we don't have any reports saying that the baby in the womb can get affected by the virus. So the newborn babies, after the delivery, through the environment only, they are getting affected. How can we protect the elderly? Mainly this is by maintaining the social distance, hand washing, hand sanitization. As you all know, cleaning the surfaces and these things. This is the only way. Social distance is the crucial way, only way where we can protect the elderly from children. So children have to be separated from the grandparents these days, which is again a difficult situation our children are facing, which I'll talk about it next few slides. So the next channel through which the children can get affected is mainly the socioeconomic effects that we are facing during this lockdown period. So can you imagine about all over the world, there are about 360 nearly million children across different countries are relying on the school meals. So now the schools are closed. So their reliable source of nutrition, daily school meals and daily nutrition, these children are lacking. So they have to look for some other source for their nutrition. So this is because of the lockdown, worsening poverty and the job insecurity. So people who are financially more stable, have a stable job, a stable income, the children of that family are more secure. And whereas now, if parents are facing that job insecurity, that will directly or indirectly reflect on the child's both physical and mental health. So severe restrictions, border closures, I was getting some phone calls from the parents, like children are stuck with grandparents in a different state, because this is a this lockdown was a sudden lockdown after the Janata curfew. One day the government announced Janata curfew, and after that lockdown started. Actually, that was the time that just a week before many schools exams were done, and children went to the grandparents or to the friends or a holiday, and got stuck, maybe away from one parent. All these things are affecting the children directly or indirectly, and because of these changes in the socioeconomic status of the country, children who are with the disabilities are who are on specialized treatments. Like we have lot of children who have who go through the specialized treatments, like children with thalassemias, they need regular blood transfusions every 3 weeks to 4 weeks. They need regular blood transfusions. And we have different societies, NGOs, who work on this and help the children from the rural background also to regularly go through these treatments. But all these got affected. There is no transport, and people to go and donate the blood, there's no transport, so blood donations have decreased, blood availability decreased, children they got affected. But lot of NGOs are working on that to streamline how to do all the there are some children with autism, there are some children with learning disabilities, so which need the speech therapies, all these things also, because lockdown is now almost 2 months or more than 2 months. These children with disabilities are getting affected. Their nutrition and mainly the schooling. Nutrition is both ways getting affected, like malnutrition, families of children who can't afford. Poverty is increasing. People who can't afford in their children, the malnutrition is increasing. And in other way, those children who are like, completely restricted to the indoors, and no control on what they are eating, like lot of snacking, for in them the overweight and obesity will increase. So the situation is like, the balance, the healthy nutrition and good schooling, mainly the schooling is affected. We are going for the distant learning, but it is not a complete replacement for the regular school. So the other channel through which I'm pausing here for a minute, because I'm coming to know there are some questions. I'm getting the messages, but we are noting them down. I will be answering the questions at the end of the session. I will go through each and every question and answer all the questions at the end of the session. I'll continue with the third channel through which the children can get affected is mainly as I told you before, there are certain health programs all over the world take place in India, all over country, the health programs take place, and certain targets we place every time that we should do. This is a goal for the 2020 from the health point of view, like, we have to decrease the infant mortality rate. The target is to this, and newborn mortality rate to decrease so much. The number of children who are attending the school percentage should increase this much, or like, girl education should increase that much. Like that, we have the development goals, the about in terms of the general child health programs. So all these things get delayed. This is not only in our country, all over the country, all over the world. Definitely the focus, everything will be in the next few months. Already for a few months it's going on. Next few months also will be in control of the pandemic only. So there will be delay in sustainable implementation of these long-term development goals. So that will have some impact. So we have to make sure that that should not impact that much. So our aim is to control the pandemic, as well as we should not forget what our goals, like, girl, let it be girl in education, or nutrition, our children's like general health, like children immunization, their regular development checks, all these things. So we are trying to continue the maternal and children health services, newborn health service, newborn immunizations. In the government also has agreed and started. So all the hospitals and now clinics also have started doing all the regular children's health checkups. Because in the past, when Ebola outbreak happened in 2014, after the epidemic has controlled, but that during that period, a lot of children missed on the vaccinations, especially the measles, MMR vaccination. A lot of children missed on that. As soon as the epidemic of Ebola is over, the measles outbreak happened. So that is the main reason why we are focusing on the immunizations and all this regular children's health checkups. We are continuing. We don't want to see that similar kind of situation, like worsening malnutrition and all these things. So I am going to talk a little bit about the parenting during this pandemic. So as I told you, main thing is ensure your child's physical and emotional well-being. So the physical health well-being, like don't forget, we all have compared to past more time, like you can just spend with your children, go through them, go through their regular health records, and see when their vaccinations are due. Different, they can be whatever is the age group, like a month old or a year old or a teenager. So for with all of them, they will have different requirements, whether it's a physical or emotional requirement, emotional well-being of them. Different age groups are like different requirements. So you have to address these children like differently. All the children who are I'll give one example. I am a frontline worker, being a doctor. I cannot stay with my child. I have to come to the work. So my son, who is 10 years old, every day he asks, is it important for you to go to work? How do you catch? How do you protect yourself? How can I protect myself? All these questions. So children can have fears, but they may not always express that fear outside. So you have to reassure them mainly by talking, and talk to them about what is happening, about the facts. And many children are like now have different apps about the number of patients, number of positive patients, number of deaths. This 10-year-old, he'll go and say, so today it's crossed now, India has more cases than like China. Today we crossed 1 lakh. All these are like they are getting more and more anxious about hearing the news and seeing the TVs about what happened in other countries and whether it will happen in our country. So they have a lot of fears in their mind. So we have to talk to them about pandemic. Yes, this virus can affect, like you may get the question about will it affect us? Like you have to tell them, if we follow the what the government is saying, like we have to confine to our houses, then hand washing, hand sanitization, all these measures we have to take to protect from the virus. This talk to them clearly about what is going on. Don't hide away anything. If they get scared or like, are we going to die? Will you die if you get these kind of questions also will come. So most of the patient, most of though it gets affected, 80% of the people will recover like any other common cold or any other viral infection. 80% of the people will recover. So you have to tell the children about the positive things about. Okay, so you will be fine, like but you have to follow these restrictions. You cannot go out and play, or you cannot meet your best friend, though it is a birthday of your best friend. You probably might have planned so many months before itself that we'll celebrate like that, like this, but now the situation is this. You have to follow these restrictions. So that is very important, and children are very good in following if you explain to them clearly, correctly. And the education also, from the classrooms to now the classrooms changed to online classrooms. You have to be very careful with your teenagers who are like going through the distance learning. You have to be very careful when they are attending the classes, like when you left them with an internet and a computer. You have to be watching carefully so that they don't get into the trap of like all this online crap which can happen. So take care of their nutrition well, avoid the junk, and frequent snacking should avoid. Healthy nutrition, very very important. Get a vitamin rich food. We are now hearing about vitamin D, vitamin C, which can boost the immunity and help in fighting this COVID. So make sure that kids are getting a balanced diet, include the fruits and vegetables and nuts in their nutrition meals. And daily physical activity, very important. Some kind of physical activities. So not the outdoor activities are restricted. Group activities are restricted. Maybe like we had actually this is a summer, and every year like a lot of swimming activities and outdoor play during they learn the badminton or football. But now it's completely different situation this year. So you may have to think about dance or indoor games, indoor physical activities like wave board or some hula hooping, these kind of other activities. Do yoga with your children, dance with your children, listen to music, tell stories. And out of these all these things, that sleep hygiene also is very important, uh, because of the lockdown and no timings. They are getting it late, going to bed late, afternoon sleep. That also you have to avoid. So maintain a good sleep hygiene. Avoid the daytime sleeping. Daytime sleeping is not good. It will disturb the night sleep, and it can lead to the nightmares and terrors also in children. So daytime maximum 1 hour, not more than that. Overall in 24 hours, 9 hours sleep you have to manage. You have to get into that discipline, maintain good hygiene for the sleep as well. Can include the meditation also in this list that I have given here. Some indoor exercises, skipping, hula hooping, children yoga also you can do. Both parents You can do this Zumba with kids. And there's a good book that UNICEF has released in all different countries' languages. It's a nice book. You can download it online. My Hero is You. This is about how you can encourage children from 10 years or so to read this book. They can understand it. It is nicely written and with good pictures, how to explain about COVID to your child, and practice social distancing. All these things are addressed in this book in a nice story form with good pictures. You can download it online. So talking to the grandparents also. So many children are like missing their grandparents these days. So you can you make a phone call, video call, chat with the grandparents to create a healthy environment at home. So thank you. I stop my presentation here and I'm going to take the questions. Mohita asked me a question about, I have a question regarding vaccine. I have not gone to hospital for typhoid vaccine for my 2-year-old child. How important it is to give the same, and how long can we stretch? So when it comes to the typhoid vaccination for a 2-year-old daughter, she's asking. So typhoid vaccination, we give first dose at 1 year. The second dose, this 2-year is the second dose. So it is not a mandatory vaccine. It is an optional vaccine. So, and already your child has taken the first dose. So you can stretch for another 2-3 months also. After the restrictions have lifted, you can come and take the vaccine. So another question from Madhavi Latagaru. Hi ma'am, my child is 5 months. It is is this right time to take vaccination? 14 weeks vaccination is due on April 8th. So what can I do, ma'am? So for your 5-month-old, 14 weeks vaccination is a mandatory vaccination. We call it as a primary immunizations. So it covers diphtheria, tetanus, whooping cough, these primary immunizations. So I recommend you to come and take the vaccine as soon as possible, because this is important. So I was talking about the outbreaks of the vaccine preventable diseases after the pandemic. Sometimes if we don't get our children vaccinated with the most important vaccine preventable things, then it is difficult. So you have to come and take though it is a bit delayed, no problem. Now the restrictions are partly lifted, so you can come and take the vaccination. We in Rainbow, we started giving the vaccinations, so you can come. Another question from Pratyusha. Hello, doctor. Good afternoon. My daughter is 5 years old now. We couldn't get her vaccinations in one which is due between 4 to 6 years. Is it okay to get it done during this period? Please clarify. Yeah, the same thing like I answered Madhavi. This 5-year vaccine also is important. It is a diphtheria, tetanus, whooping cough vaccine. So you can come and get the vaccinations done. Another very good question about from Harsh Kupania. This is, hello doctor, if a newborn baby 3-month-old is affected with virus, then how will we come to know baby is affected with virus, and what are the measures we should take up? So a 3-month-old baby can only get affected if any adult seek contact with the baby, because this baby is not going anywhere outside. by herself. So through any adult sick contact only they will catch. So who are all the adults who have to go out for essential needs? They have to be careful if the virus comes through them first. So you get symptomatic. So any adult member of the family gets any symptoms, so you have to isolate first yourself. So general little bit about the virus is first 4-5 days of the virus getting into your body, you may not have any symptoms. Then you can have mild upper respiratory symptoms like little bit of sore throat and mild cough, sneezes, and high temperatures. So then when you have that mild sneeze, cough, you yourself also may not. When you have mild cold, cough, sneezes like that period, you have to strictly isolate yourself. Isolation is different from social distancing. The social distancing we are following is mainly to stop us catching that contact from whole society. So but this, when you develop symptoms, so no matter how much precautions you have taken and measures you have taken, but still you got it and stored the symptom, that's when you have to go into the isolation, mainly for not passing it on to your other family members. Okay, so passing it when can happen when you are sneezing and coughing, that the virus droplets which are coming from you can easily spread to the other people. So you have to follow isolation is like, confine yourself to a different room, and you have to get served from the different family members from a very far distance. This newborn baby you asked about, so if any adult family members have any symptoms, yes, you have to test, otherwise you may not come to know. Okay, so if you have a test only, you will come to know. The symptoms can be cough in the newborn baby also. If they have contacted it, they can have the cough and the fever. A 3-month-old also can have the fever. But before that, adult contact should be there. They also should get tested, and then you have to go for the baby testing if symptoms are there. Now, confirmatory will be only by the testing. So other question is Priyanka. Good afternoon, doctor. My baby is of 3-month-old and he is suffering from vomiting since 45 days. Currently using Domstal Rantac syrups daily, but still vomiting is not reduced. Kindly suggest any other syrups. Here, this is not related to the COVID situation, but I still answer this question. A 3-month-old completely breastfed baby who is gaining weight well, otherwise well baby, you need not worry about the vomitings. If you already using the Domstal Rantac, but still vomitings are happening, if it is a milky vomiting and the child is gaining weight well, then you need not worry about these vomitings. They gradually decrease after you start the babies on the weaning foods, like 5 to 6 months of time. If at all your child has any yellowish or greenish vomitings, or if a baby is throwing up so much that a baby is losing weight, then these are the 2 cases you have to consult the hospital. So I have one more question, 2 more questions. I have one question from Divakar Naidu Garu. Good afternoon, doctor. My baby is 3 months now. I have started buying clothes and toys for my baby either from store or online. What safety measures should I follow to ensure I am not inviting any infection into the house? Thank you. Regards. So as I mentioned in the beginning of my presentation, that the virus is a lifeless particle unless until it enters your body. Like it can only remain on the surfaces and different surfaces for different period of time. Like for example, the wood material or metal surfaces, the virus will stay and survive longer compared to the paper and the fabric. So you can't buy from store, I guess, because now the stores are all closed. Don't buy from store, because when you go to store, you are putting yourself chance of like acquiring it from the person or people who come to the store at the same time or time before or later to buy the clothes. So that I think put you and at more risk of catching the virus than online. Whenever you order from online, the parcel stay about 3 days at least in different cargo, different places like that. So people who are packing it and all that, if suppose they are transmitting, because the package stays for some time in the transit, the virus will get inactivated, will become inactive in that time itself. And once you reach the get the parcel, you don't touch it for at least 3-4 hours. Don't touch it, then take the pack inside. And 24 hours, if you leave your clothes in the heat, summer sun, then it will get inactivated. You leave the clothes 24 hours in the heat. Swati, which food should give to improve immunity for 2.5-year-old? So balanced food with vitamins and minerals. So fruits and vegetables are the main rich source of vitamins and minerals. So you have to give 3 meals a day with the like my plate of any child, a toddler should have a combination of carbohydrate, protein and fat. That means should include the either rice or wheat or ragi cereal, and proteins like you can put legumes. Legumes is moong dal, tur dal, chana dal, like that. And then vegetables with a milk product like butter or ghee or cheese or a curd. So you have to give a balanced food like that, the 3 meals a day. So that is the end of the questions, and I'll just see if I have any more questions to answer. I have some more questions. One question from Shreya. Please let me know precautions to be taken for infant 6-month baby. Like only now we started solids. Like what of food should be given? He keeps on putting his fingers in the mouth. What kind of extra sanitization need to be done for them? So coming to the extra sanitization for the baby 6-month-old. So 6-month-old baby puts the fingers in the mouth. That is a natural phase of that's a natural reaction. It's a part of their development. You cannot restrict them putting the fingers in the mouth. So just wash the hands frequently. Adults who are taking care of this baby should wash their hands more frequently and sanitize their hands more frequently. Don't go outside. Then coming to the starting the food solids and these things, it is a completely different session. You need to consult the doctor before you start weaning foods for a 6-month baby. So I would advise you to speak to the pediatricians and take a consultation. If you can't take a direct consultation, you can take online virtual video consultations also. Then Venugopal, hi madam, my mother-in-law is taking care of my son 15 months. Her age is 55 years. As you said, it is not good, but she's taking care well. Can you guide this please? So a 55 years old taking care of your son 15 months is absolutely fine. Grandparents are because as long as the baby is not going to the outside school or daycare or make sure that if both the 55 and 15 months are confined to home only and they are not getting overtly exposed by different people coming in and out, then no problem. You can continue and she can continue taking care of your 15-month-old, no problem. Mirza Mustafa is asking, my child is 4 years. As per schedule, his school reopened from second week of June. What is the best time to send him school? Best time to send to school for the 4-year-old, actually pre-primary schools actually they take 4-year-old children for kindergarten. But this year whether they're going to start or not, it's still we don't know. We are waiting for the instructions from government. It depends on all on the control of this pandemic, and the pandemic gets to control to some extent at least. There are guidelines when to open the schools and all that. So if the schools open, it a 4-year-old can start. This is the time only. This is the time to start the kindergarten, 4-5 year LKG. But to the present scenario, we can't certainly say till the lockdown restrictions lift off, and we are waiting for the instruction from government. Then there is a question from Kanchan. Hello doctor, what should we include in kids diet to increase it? I answered this question already. So definitely include vegetables and nuts. Prabhanjan Reddy, I question, my daughter is now 6 months. She has mild fever last week. Is it good time to take vaccine now as she is due on 7th May? How much time maximum we can postpone this particular vaccination? So 6 months vaccinations, actually speaking, it is to cover the influenza vaccine. It is an optional vaccine. There is no problem postponing it for a month or 2 months also. We can give this at the 9 months of time as well. So another 2-3 months if you postpone also, it's okay. Another question from Swati. Hi ma'am, my in-laws visiting my home tomorrow. So what precautions should I take, as my kid is 2.5 years old? So I don't have complete information. Visiting from where do you live, where do they live, are there any containment zones, and kid getting affected, like parents getting affected, all these things difficult without all the information that I have. In general, it's better if we avoid even the family gatherings as well. See, recently there was one news, like in an apartment, 26-28 people got positive because they attended a birthday party like that. So if they are visiting only your home and all of you are well, they should come directly inside and stay inside, don't go anywhere. And if they have had any contact, like suppose your in-laws, where they visited in the last week, 2 weeks, the incubation period of this is 2 weeks. But in general, 5 days, 6 days, you will develop the symptoms. So if you are fine for the last 1 week without any cough, cold or fever, nothing, fit and well in the last 1 week, then you can allow movement, but avoid frequent movements in and out and group gatherings. And your child being there will not be an issue, as long as, like, no schools, no outside gatherings, and no play, no nurseries. So if all of you are in the last week are fit without any cough and cold, then you can allow the family one-to-one visits, like the small group is allowed as per the government this lockdown for limitations as well. So that's the end of the questions, and the end of the session also. I thank you all for your patient listening.